Sorry, guys. Look, it is my fault. Okay. I have a video on the Odd Shopper channel. It takes forever to get that out. Comment, God, that's hilarious. Jamal Parker, you as well. Appreciate you guys in the comment section. Jack off, someone's getting fired. I'm not going anywhere, brother, but I apologize. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. I'm Dave Loughran. That is Matt Gajewski, and we've got Monday Night Football. Really a game that I'm quite excited for. Matt, all within the last week, and I'm just pulling this same line from my Odd Shopper betting video. You have a fired head coach, an offensive coordinator who has since been demoted to an undisclosed role. It's like they threw him into the gulag or something. We're living in the Soviet Union here. And then you have a quarterback on the other side that got hit with the smelling salts, and the NFL decided they went through the proper protocol for the concussions. So, I mean, both teams coming off 2 straight losses as well, and a bunch of injuries to this Bills side. I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, man. And you get the elite quarterbacks, so to say. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Jets. I think, honestly, it's Aaron Rodgers calling a lot of the shots, but that only works if Aaron Rodgers is playing well. If Aaron Rodgers puts out what he's been doing on the field this year, then you can't really just prop up Nathaniel Hackett, Allen Lazard, and all your buddies and put them into these key roles. I don't know what's going to happen with this team. I don't know how happy Rodgers is. He's been hurt too. I know he had a full practice. I'm not sure if he's going to be actually full out there with the ankle sprain. So there's a ton of little wrinkles with this that aren't even just injured related. The Jets are a mess behind the scenes.
Yeah, they are. I think the Bills are just as much of a mess too, though.
I don't think it's quite as foundational. They just have so many injuries.
I mean, Matt Milano, Von Miller suspension. I know Ed Oliver hasn't been great, but it's still not great. Teron Johnson, we don't know if he's going to be back. Khalil Shakir, James Cook both got a single limited practice in on Saturday. So, right, maybe it's not as foundational, but there's a lot of injuries on that Bills team as well.
Without a doubt, a ton of injuries. I do think we see Cook. I think we see Shakir. And weirdly, last week, Shakir was kind of the guy that mattered a lot. I don't know how the offense just broke without Shakir's ability to move the chains, but it kind of did, which was very weird to me. I thought Curtis Samuel would be able to handle that role. He failed largely. Then you have a bunch of, they're almost like gadget receivers. They do very specific things. Keenan Coleman's like a big body contested catch guy. Matt Collins is a blocker, which is not something I ever really like to say about my receivers. And then I don't know if Samuel does anything well at this point. I can't believe he failed in that layup spot. And then their tight ends have been wildly underachieving too. So it's just a very weird offense. And when Josh Allen has to go absolute hero mode, you get some flashy plays, but you also get the interceptions, and then it typically doesn't look as good. So I don't know where this Bills team is at. I sort of feel bad for their coaching staff working with so many injured players, especially on defense. And man, have they been able to mask it, but the wheels have started to come off on that side of the ball too.
Anyway, very happy to have you guys with us. Hey, again, humbly accept my apology for being tardy today, but we'll get you the info you need. We always do. We try and leave no stone unturned here. And, maybe it's brazen of me to ask this after being late. If you don't mind, atone for your sins this Monday morning. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. We love reading and responding to all of those. It goes a long way for us. We're greatly appreciative. And we thank you guys in advance. The old 100K subscriber Stokastic YouTube channel. That's what they call us now. Anyway, thanks, guys. How you feeling, Matt? How you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. A lot of great football. Saturday was especially good. Had a bad beat. It was in third in the flagship for it's like 15K, and then Penn State's in overtime, and basically USC. Do you know the college rules for overtime? They're different.
Yeah. You get the ball at what is it, like the 25?
The 25. Yeah, going to score.
Yep.
So USC had it first. They messed up, got 0 points. So Penn State can theoretically just kick the field goal right there. Most teams will run like 3 straight plays right up the middle, try to get 3 or 4 yards, make it a little easier. They run a shuffle pass to the tight end, like an Andy Reid style shuffle pass to the guy that a bunch of people have behind me. So that ended up being like a 10K swing on a meaningless play at the end of the game.
Oh.
But I mean, still good. You want to maximize those, and then when you get burned a little bit on it's not like a kneel down. It's a little more impactful than that, but still a play that shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it's tough to not realize those.
I get you. So either way, you had a good week. Good weekend.
Yeah, it was good. Could have been better, but let's not nitpick. It was still good.
Good.
How about you?
Dude, I'm getting close in this power. I had another top 15 finish in the power sweep. It's nothing crazy.
You're like me. You got to realize those one of these times.
I know that I hit Ben. It was like, I think 2,300, 15th in the power sweep. I hit Ben up and I was like, dude, I'm right there every week, but I'm not there. You know, it's always like you're right there, but you're not there.
And you need to hit it. Like in the college football one, it's 100K to first, 1,000 to 10th.
See, that's a great call, because like 20, I think it was 2,300 to 15th was still like, oh, okay, that's nice. I ended up having a good week, right? And some of those others, 15, you're right, is like, okay, good, I broke even on this. Yeah. So I'm not complaining at all. But the power sweep first place is 100K too. You know, like that pays out real nice up top as well. Bijan helped me late. I had all early players and then one 4 p.m. guy, and it was Bijan. And he ended up scoring twice. What's crazy though, Matt, is that late in the game, they're icing it. The entire last drive went to Algier and the touchdown, and Bijan finished 5 yards shy of 100. So like, obviously you look at the guys behind you and ahead of you, I had things break my way too, but like Bijan getting that final drive could have been a massive difference maker. But you can always look at things like that. You know, you can look at the positives and the negatives every single time.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun slate. That's nice you were that high. I had some pretty good finishes that were like one player away. In some of the larger field stuff, I was doing some weird lineups. Like I had some Drake May stacks, but used like Jalen Polk, who had one catch. So great lineup, like all around him. Drake May did much better than we thought. And then, you know, Jalen Polk is the guy you used from New England. So you're just stone dead on that lineup.
Yeah. Man, Drake May had a few nice passes. I had a bad betting Sunday though, man. I laddered Calvin Ridley. He finished with 0 yards. How about that? This guy, first, I don't know if you saw his post-game interview, but he was cursing. He was I don't blame him. Like, first of all, he's on like a 4-year, $92 million contract. And you know how many targets he had yesterday?
I don't, but I know, like I was watching Red Zone and I saw Nick Westbrook-Akine catch the touchdown, and I'm just like, why is Nick Westbrook-Akine playing a snap?
I don't know. Calvin Ridley had a team-leading 8 targets, 0 receptions on a team-leading 8 targets. Oh, and did you see, we'll get into the game right now, I promise you. Did you see the Millie winner?
Yeah, with, what was it? What's that guy's name? Sean Tucker. I keep wanting to say Trey Tucker, but yeah, Sean Tucker. People
were responding to Ben's tweet like, so DFS really is luck, isn't it? It's like, well, no.
That's part of it.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is the Millie Maker is a lotto ticket. Yes, the Millie Maker is clearly a lotto ticket. And now this guy is going to be on some show doing DFS advice because he won a Millie, right?
Is that true?
What?
Is he really?
No, I'm saying it always happens.
Well, that's happened to a lot of people.
For sure. And some of them are just legitimately sharp. But he had naked Jordan Love, Chris Godwin, Kate Otten, and Sean Tucker had 0.0% ownership. Not only did he have a $3 lineup with naked Jordan Love, but he also had the Bucks defense and solo shipped the Millie. Obviously solo shipped it. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, man, I like kind of just stopped when I saw Sean Tucker. It's like, all right. Like he didn't play anyone that was really owned other than Godwin, I guess, and Otten in the defense.
Yeah.
There's like no ownership on this lineup.
Yeah. Anyway, glad you guys could join us. Let's talk Monday Night Football.
Wow, Godwin was only 9%.
Yeah, Godwin was a nice play yesterday. I did bet him to score, which was nice. But
we had Godwin way higher.
The Chris Godwin matchup was great because Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore, it's just never – Mike Evans always struggles in that spot. He really does. Like, go back and look at every time he's faced Lattimore. I can't think of a single quality performance.
Yeah, I remember he caught like a touchdown, but I still don't think he had a good game when he did that.
Maybe he did, and I just
I think he has one touchdown on Lattimore, but I think that's really the only thing he's done.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about it. Yeah. Oh God, Wookie, that Hutchinson injury was nasty.
I actually thought about you the second it happened. It's funny. You have your reputation now with these injuries. Whenever I see one, I'm like, damn, Laffy was probably pumped.
Yeah, I was not pumped at all. No, he's just so good. I mean, it's such a terrible injury. What a bizarre way for that to happen, though. I mean, the force of that leg swinging around to just snap clean like that is ungodly.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. I know some of those can be like devastating, and then some of them are actually even better than ligament tears, depending on where you break it. I'm not a doctor, of course, but I hope he's on the easier recovery path. I guess we'll find out more in the coming days. No, they had the emergency surgery, but that's pretty typical when you have like a compound fracture.
Who was the Bears tight end that had that injury in the end zone, and they're like, he's good, he might die or lose his leg?
Oh shoot, man, I can't remember his name.
Zach Miller.
Is he okay now?
I don't know. But I remember they're like, he might actually, seriously, they're like, we might have to amputate your leg.
Yeah, we don't have any information like that yet. I sure hope it's nothing of that.
We probably would have known something, right? We'll figure it out. We just got a Tua Tagovailoa update too. He's expected to resume playing in 2024, but will not play this week. Oh boy.
Good for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Let's talk Monday Night Football. So, yeah, I actually like this slate quite a bit. We could start with the backfields here and then work our way through it. Breece Hall, to me, Todd Downing's calling the plays now. Nathaniel Hackett, Matt, again, how funny. Demoted to an undisclosed role is one of the most hilarious things that you'll ever see, in football when you're talking about, like, what are they doing now? We don't actually know. He's there like for emotional support to Aaron Rodgers or something. But the Breece Hall stuff, I know he hasn't been good this year, but man, like they say they want to run the football. Fine. Maybe that's just coach speak and, bullshit rhetoric. But also one of the things that jumps out to me, you had no Matt Milano, and that has clearly plagued this Buffalo defense. If you look at how pass catching running backs have done against them this year, going into week 6, no team allowed more receptions, targets, or yards to running backs in the passing game than the Buffalo Bills. No team had allowed more receiving touchdowns to running backs than the Buffalo Bills. And then I started digging into it. I'm like, all right, what about, some individual performances? Maybe it was just one guy that kind of skewed all of this. No. James Conner, DeMarcado combined for 59 yards on 5 receptions. Devon Achane the next week, 7 for 69. Justice Hill, 6 for 78. Derrick Henry tacked on a score through the air. Week 5, Dario Gumbawale, 57 yards on 6 catches. So, like, these guys have really gashed them in the passing game. And Breece Hall, look, he's fast. He's elusive. He's still one of the better pass-catching running backs in the league. Maybe they don't use him as much in that capacity, but I still really like Breece Hall today. I'm going back to the well. I understand that he has not been efficient in the ground, but I'm taking the bait. I think they find ways to get him the ball and open it up today.
He has the sort of Alvin Kamara pass catching floor right now too, which
I think so.
If you ever walk your way into efficiency on the ground or extra opportunities, Breece Hall, he would be, like the number 2 running back in fantasy where you were drafting him ahead of the season because his pass game role is awesome. Heading into the week, he was tied for first in targets with Alvin Kamara. He's averaging 5.5 targets per game. And then if he ever worked into more ground attack work or just more efficiency, because the Jets have been pretty poor this year as an offense in general, like more red zone attempts would help him. I think people are, looking at the efficiency and thinking it's like a bad play overall or Breece is cooked. Braylon's working more into the game plan, but Breece still has an awesome role. It's just, he has 197 rush yards. The efficiency's been really, really bad. I don't think that's all on him, though. He's been proven to be an efficient player over his career. If anything, I just want to buy low on Breece.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you can buy low on Breece in the betting markets too, Matt.
What are his props?
25 receiving yards, 55.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
I thought so. Logan said Guardian Cap 2 are going to destroy the league. He should throw that thing on. I have a lot of respect for those guys that wear the Guardian Cap because they look so silly.
I don't know how heavy they are, but if it's not something that's like unbearable, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Or like those, have you seen those neck things those guys wear?
Yeah. Those Guardian Caps look preposterously bad, but that's what I'm saying. I have a lot of these guys are looking out for their health. They want to make sure that they can live a long and fruitful life after their football career, so they do it anyway. I like it. My guess is sooner than later, everyone's going to be wearing something like that. It's just a matter of time. Tua's got to come back looking like the kid from Little Giants. But
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL mandates it at some point.
Seriously. But yeah, I'm with you on Breece today. And usually when you get a guy, you're right that Braylon Allen is working in more, but at the same time, it's not like Breece is just losing opportunities in like a ton, because he still played 74% of snaps last week, 69% the week before, 71, 72, 82 on the season. So you're not looking at these snaps specifically going like way different in one direction. And it's also, last week, like Braylon Allen had 5 for 13. So he has been more efficient on the year as a runner, but I don't think the sample is enough to just be like, yeah, this guy's just way better than Breece Hall and he needs more work. Plus, the pass catching back is still largely going to be Breece Hall.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's not the role we wanted coming into the year. Everyone was projecting Breece like 80, 90% of the touches. Braylon's worked his way into the backfield, but it's still like a 70-30 split, a 65-35 split. And that's just what it's going to be. Our projections definitely factor that in. And when you have games where the Jets are winning, they have more rushing attempts because they're very willing to just ride the run. This is a very game script sensitive team. They will be pretty negative in their pass rate over expectation. Then you're going to have awesome games for both Breece and Braylon. We've seen games already where they're both in double-digit carries. No questions asked. You're insulated with Breece, though. When they do get into a negative game script, he is the preferred pass-catching back, and that's where you see his snaps rise. Yeah, it brings down the carries, but it also brings up higher value touches. So I still think Breece is pretty insulated. Honestly, I just think everyone's tilting because they're not getting the 90% that we thought we would get with Breece. But, I mean, Braylon's earned it. You can't take anything away from him. He should be like a 30% player at this point.
Would you play both of them together? I've already seen a couple comments, questions, statements in chat about that so far.
I think you can. We have Braylon as the third highest positively leveraged player on the slate. And then Breece is negatively leveraged, but he's also expensive. Sometimes you just get that because of price. When you still run the Sims, it's not like, okay, a slightly negative Breece isn't going to be in there because we want the highest overall projected player in a lot of our lineups. So I got a fair amount of Braylon and Breece. I didn't check yet whether they're together, but it's not going to be something I look to limit.
Honestly, though, looking at this slate, looking at this game, there are ways that they could get there, both of them. And Buffalo's defense on the ground really hasn't done anything all that impressive. They haven't been terrible at stopping the run, right? But they haven't been good either. This could just be the question is, can the Jets assert any dominance here? Can they actually figure out a way to establish the ground game? If they do, and I'm not trying to just give you like some banal bullshit statement, Matt. But you'll hear you'll understand where I'm going. What I'm saying is, if they're able to actually do that, then there's no reason they'd want to go away from it, right? So there is a world here where they get out to they're effective on the ground early on, and you end up seeing 30 plus running back carries in this game like that. It's just, can it work?
Yeah, you bring up a great point. I think it can. Honestly, I think the Jets offensive line is better than what they've put on the field this year.
Me too.
So I think at some point you're going to see them. I mean, they should have like 3 Pro Bowlers in this offensive line. I can't believe, and their first round pick for Shanu is not even really playing. He's a backup, which is a great luxury to have, but still, you should be better if that's the case. Anyway, the Bills defense is very hurt. We mentioned a slew of guys that are out of this game or questionable. Like Milano's been out the whole year. Ed Oliver plays right in the middle of that defense. He's not the best run defender, but still, now you're putting someone presumably worse than him as his backup. You mentioned Von Miller, and these aren't the only players out. We still have some questions. The injury report we get tonight will be a little telling. But regardless, they're going to be shorthanded defending the run tonight. And then you mentioned the Jets. They should attack this through the ground. Rodgers has been bad. As it pertains to Breece and Braylon and why I'm okay playing them together is this isn't a hot hand situation. It's sort of a rising tide lifts all boats. When the Jets are winning and playing from ahead, both of their carries rise. One is not playing at the expense of the other. So I think you can use them together, and your angle is, all right, that's probably the Jets playing. Well, they'd have to definitely cover the spread and probably, win by like a touchdown or something, have a pretty comfortable margin of victory. But that could easily happen. We see these things happen all the time. The spread is just the most likely outcome, and then you have a ton of ranges within that. But if you do get one where the Jets are playing from ahead, I don't think anyone would be super surprised to see this backfield finish with like 35 carries. And you're not going to give all those to Breece. So Breece, Braylon together, I don't hate it tonight.
Nick Willar asked, why no full screen? Yeah, Jordan, why no full screen? Okay. Yeah, take the blanket off. All right. We're on StreamYard. Jordan was having technical issues. Plot twist, that's why we're late. That's not true. It was me. Yeah. And also, comment God, is that all right? So I assume you're joking, right? My mom just paid for my lineups. Oh, for my lineup sim. That's awesome. I knew getting her in the DFS was good. Is that a true statement, comment God? If that's a true statement, that's fantastic. Ben Snappin said Bijan and Algier did it yesterday. Yeah, I exactly. They both did it. I wish Bijan did more of it, but he had a good game. And these are granted, they were 6.5 point road favorites against a really bad Carolina defense. Okay, really bad. I love the over in that game just because Carolina's offense and offensive line aren't bad, but that defense, that personnel, I mean, is the worst you could ever imagine. He's serious. Comment God said, yes, I'm serious. Awesome. Well, guys, if you ever wanted to do it without having to pay anything significant at all, Matt, how about the fact that we've got the link join now to just get anybody, the core Sims core package that they want? I mean, is there anything better than that right now?
No, honestly, no. You're getting two things you want, and I mean, you can pick which one you want to use. Like you can literally tailor this so it's the best possible outcome for you. There's so many deals within that link join. I was absolutely shocked that we were able to put that together.
If you guys are unfamiliar with what we're talking about, all right, see this right here on the screen. All of those books and pick'em sites, right? You sign up on any of them with the link that we have in the description. Must use the link. You'll see the claim now. Jordan can pull that page up on the screen. On that claim offer, any of them, you deposit their minimum, place a bet. The moment that bet settles, you guys now have full access to our Sims core package, $100 a month, $100 a month value. This is all you do. All right. Choose one of the promos, right? Any of them. So you go down there, you see it. You're like, all right, I want Bet365. Click claim offer. Goes in, you instantly verify yourself. By the way, it's not just that. They all have welcome offers. Bet365 gives you 200 in bonus bets for betting $5 and depositing 10 when you sign up, which is nuts. You sign up for that. And then after you're done, all you do is take a screenshot of your welcome email and your first settled bet and email us at support@stokastic.com. Tell us which leagues you want. Here's the kicker. This is the crazy part. And you're going, how the hell can they do this? Well, we can. And you are the beneficiary. If you did Bet365 and Caesars and FanDuel, you're getting 3 months. You're getting 3 months. Minimum deposit, first bet, settled bet, boom. That's it. And you've got all the bonuses on all of those books as well. So I don't know what you're waiting for, but if you're still waiting, link is down there. Follow those simple steps. Get yourself in the door. Get the core package for any sports you want for the entirety of the month by signing up with any of our partners. Got to be 21 years or older to gamble. You have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, but no better way to get in the door than right now. All right. What do we want to do with the passing game for the Jets, Matt?
This is where I think you need to really think about the wrinkles. All right, how much is Rodgers going to be doing on his own? What was Hackett doing, and what are they going to do now? Because this passing attack has looked pretty inept. Are they going to give Rodgers the freedom at the line of scrimmage to call his own plays with how bad the offense has been? Again, all that stuff is fine and great when you're succeeding, but they've been failing. So now what do they do? And do we still have this condensed target share for Garrett Wilson? It was great to see him with 20-plus targets in a game, but also very concerning that he barely eclipsed 100 yards in that spot. When you're breaking ties, I much prefer the run game, but obviously it's showdown. We need to play more than just running backs. I still tentatively want to get to Garrett Wilson, but what is your sentiment on him? I've been pretty alarmed, and honestly, when I looked at the Sims tool, it was right around the field, which I'm pretty comfortable with. I don't know if I want Garrett Wilson being one of my major stands tonight, and I think I'm probably going to try to just play him pretty close to the field. And honestly, maybe just take that approach with all the Jets pass catchers as bad as they've been.
Garrett Wilson's coming off a game where he was absolutely peppered with targets. 22 targets, 13 receptions, 101 yards. They weren't exactly efficient targets, Matt, from a production standpoint. I don't know how much that matters. This is what I keep coming back to. Nathaniel Hackett, is it fair to say absolute bozo as a play caller?
100%. We have a long sample of him being a bozo.
Okay. I'm not saying Garrett Wilson gets 22 targets here by any stretch, and they were playing from behind. But I just keep coming back to, does Todd Downing taking over as offense coordinator in an effort to, elevate himself or potentially keep this job? Because let's not forget, there's a guy that was a tight ends coordinator, a passing game coordinator. Then 2021 and 2022 was the offensive coordinator with the Titans, loses that, comes in as passing game coordinator. So technically a drop down and role with the Jets. Now he's calling plays again. I mean, if I'm calling plays, am I not trying to get the ball to my best players this week?
Yeah, you'd think so. That's why I'm really curious how much control Rodgers is going to have at the line of scrimmage, because he doesn't seem to care about that. He's throwing the ball to Allen Lazard as many times as he possibly can. So that's a big question for me, and I don't have the answer. But yeah, I mean, I would be still concerned with Garrett Wilson. We talked about the 23 target game, 22 target game he had in his last contest. He'd been below 10 in 3 straight games before that. So this is actually meaningful, and I don't have the answer to it. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Rodgers. I have a hard time believing he's relinquishing any of the power he's been given.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I would still rather have Breece Hall than Garrett Wilson at a similar price point, if that's your question.
Me too.
Okay, then how about this? Because when you look at the highest priced guys, you have Josh Allen, James Cook, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers, all above that all 9K and above. We prefer Breece Hall over Garrett Wilson. I still like Wilson. There's no way that if I get a lot of Garrett Wilson that I'm going to be bumping him down. I don't think I'm going to be doing that today. I would rather find other ways to do that. But let's see what my exposure looks like, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run it one more time right now and see what we come in at. But did you run the Sims yet?
I ran the Sims, and there's a couple things. One, he's pretty expensive. He's more expensive than Breece Hall, so I just don't think you're naturally going to get a ton of Garrett Wilson anyway, unless you bump him or something. Or the other reason would be, his ownership comes down significantly. But again, it's still Garrett Wilson. I don't think his ownership is going to be crazy low by any means, which kind of puts him in a range I'm pretty comfortable with. When I ran the Sims, I got 35-ish% of him in the flex. And then in the captain spot, he came in at 12%. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with that. It's a reasonable exposure to Garrett Wilson. I don't feel out over my skis with a passing attack that's been inept. And he's probably not getting 22 targets again. So this is pretty good for me. I don't think I'm going to change anything with Garrett Wilson.
Jordan ran it as well, Matt. And we have 8% Wilson at captain. And at flex, what do we have? Okay, yeah, that seems about right to me. So go back to captain one more time. You kind of nailed it. Like, we're right in line with the field at flex. We are underweight at captain, but we're well overweight on captain for Breece Hall and for Josh Allen. This is what I want to talk about. We make some weird pivots in this show, but stick with us because all of it comes together in the end. How do you feel about the Josh Allen captain spots? Because he just hasn't looked like himself. I know that he has two fantastic games where, had they been on prime time, matter of fact, one of them was, but it was a Monday night doubleheader against Jacksonville, and he dominated. 3 other games, Josh Allen has been downright bad. Houston, Baltimore, Miami, he actually wasn't bad. He just wasn't needed. But his last 2 games, he's been terrible. Some of that could be, attributed to Khalil Shakir. Some of it just Baltimore getting out to an early lead. It was a weird game. That was also a primetime spot. How do you feel about the 26% Josh Allen in the captain spot, knowing that the Jets' strength on defense is, in fact, their secondary? That's what scares me a little bit here.
For sure. And it's their strength. It's not like their pass rushing is bad. I don't think it's probably, a middling unit, but could they get after Josh Allen? Sure, at some point. I was pretty happy with where he landed in the Sims too, because I got a lot more Breece than him, but he still came in at 18% 18 and some change where I ran it, which is fine with me because we've seen the ceiling over a long sample. I think the main difference with Buffalo comes down to their offensive design. Under Dorsey, they were throwing the ball a lot more and giving Josh Allen these YOLO attempts. Now they're a much run-heavier team. So when you look at their intent coming into games, it just doesn't seem like they're willing to let Josh Allen be YOLO Josh Allen unless they absolutely have to. That reduces his floor, in my opinion, and his ceiling, but it's still in there. When they are forced into those kind of games, YOLO Josh Allen will come out and we'll see the rushing scores. So I'm happy he's not my highest owned captain, but I still want a fair amount of him there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I have no problem getting to captain Josh Allen at all. I just don't. This is actually the same point that you made weeks ago, right? You were saying, like, you don't have a problem getting to him, but you don't view Josh Allen as the same quarterback as you did in previous seasons when he had the weapons before the offensive coordinator shift midway through last year, right? I mean, I don't think your logic or the way you look at this has changed much at all.
No, it hasn't. It's kind of been reaffirmed, actually. I don't think we've really seen, like, we know what the Bills want to do. The real problem is when their defense gets them in trouble and then they need to play like that YOLO ball with Josh Allen. It hasn't happened a ton this year, and it's just variant. When that happens, sometimes you get the Josh Allen monster spots, and sometimes you get the putrid games. That's not new either. We've been seeing that with Josh Allen for seasons. He does have these games where he completely and utterly melts down. So I'm not really that surprised by anything that's happened this year. If anything, it's just like right in line with Josh Allen's career.
Michael Armstrong, genuine question, Lavi. How do you have time to play DFS with 2 small children? My wife hates me. It's been a struggle for me to have time to enter more, and she's awesome. But for me to have time to enter more than 20, 30 lineups and do proper. Yeah, I mean, look, during like basketball season, I can't play every night. Just no chance. No chance. But football, it's a little bit different. Like Sunday, there's no way I'm not playing. Monday and Thursday, there's no way I'm not playing. So, it's just the way it is. But shout out to my wife, Justine. She puts up with a lot. Let me tell you that much. A lot. All right. So what do we do with, okay, we're going across the board here. I think this will be more fun to do it this way. We talked about Garrett Wilson. Tyler Conklin's expected to play. Alan Lazard. Mike Williams has been a ghost. The Mike Williams game will happen, by the way. I don't know when, but it will happen, Matt. I'm just letting you know that we will get the Mike Williams game where he has 4 for 103 and then a touchdown or something like that. But then on the other side, let's just anticipate Khalil Shakir playing. He probably does. I don't know if he's going to be about 100%. Also, we'll talk James Cook, guys. Don't worry. We'll get into everything. But you have Khalil Shakir. You have, Curtis Samuel, who is, it's over for him. I really thought that he would have a significant role on a, pretty ambiguous pass catching core going into the season. That has not been the case. Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. Where are our top pass catching options once you get past Garrett Wilson?
They're almost non-existent. There is a tier that is Garrett Wilson and Garrett Wilson alone. And then you drop down to the secondary tier where I don't really prioritize any of these guys. And it's largely just because they're close enough in price to Garrett Wilson where, am I really going to pay like $7,200 for Lazard or, at Buffalo coming off the injury? You have like Shakir at 8,600. Like what are we doing with Khalil Shakir at 8,600? His route share might be like 50% tonight.
They're using him. This guy should be out, Matt. This guy should be out there for 90+% of snaps every single week.
Shakir?
Yeah, you don't have to.
He should be. The reason I had paused on that is he's hurt.
I know, but even before that, the most Khalil Shakir's snap share on the season is averaging under 60%. How do you explain that? I'm not saying that he's prime Andre Johnson, but he's still their most reliable guy, and he's proven that when he's healthy.
I agree with you. They have a lot of role players, but Shakir is the best all-around talent you have. And we saw the offense break largely in part to his absence in their last game. So I agree with you. I think he should be out there a lot. There's two things. He hasn't been already. And two, he's hurt. So where does it come in? I am flabbergasted he's 8,600.
To me, it feels like you might oh God, I hate to even think about this, but Keon Coleman might just be the guy because there's at least touchdown equity with a guy like this. It's pretty evident where Josh Allen wants to use him. But you know what I hate about this spot? Keon Coleman's going up against two really good corners. Like, you got a rookie that is still in some sense a project. And now you've got him on the road, Monday Night Football. Not to say that, that part matters, but going up against guys like Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, it's not a good spot for him.
Absolutely not. My first instinct, honestly, was kind of in line with that and playing more Kincaid and maybe some Dawson Knox, because honestly, part of the reason to play a guy like Knox is, all right, he's on the field basically as much as Shakir. He's not involved, but am I really going to pay $7,000 extra for Shakir over a guy like Knox? I mean, who cares? Just play the studs and then go all the way down for a guy like Knox. But the main difference is Kincaid, and who's expensive, and Knox, I guess, for this matter, they sort of avoid the teeth of that Jets defense. So when I'm up at the top, I think I'm a little more willing to play Kincaid than those other expensive Bills. But otherwise, man, like just give me Knox, give me Matt Collins, give me MVS. Like, who cares? They play just as much as those other guys.
All right. I'm trying to see if I have any real exposure. I have 13% Coleman at flex. At captain, I have 2%.
Did you run 150?
I ran 150 at 30%.
I want to try something. Like down towards it's hard to make like 150 good lineups for Showdown. I wonder, like, if you reduce this to 100 or 50, what you get of these guys?
Let's try it.
Because like combos are difficult.
All right. Yeah. So
when I reduce it to 100, I got, let's see here, 12% Keon Coleman flex.
12%?
Yes.
All right. At what percent to first? Because I did 30% to first.
25.
25?
Yeah.
I did 50 lineups. I favorited 50 lineups. I have 0 Coleman at flex and 6%. Or sorry, 0 at captain and 6% at flex. So I get even less. So really, once you get with the 150, for me at least, the Sims was just grabbing some lineups that it didn't like to begin with.
Yeah, I think it's just a product of it's hard to make a lot of combinations, and eventually you have to get more of these guys. If you're this was just I don't know why I thought of this, but for those of you playing like one or a couple lineups, I don't know that Keon Coleman's a priority. I think the reason we got a fair amount of him is just the amount of lineups we were using. And it doesn't mean he doesn't have upside. I mean, he's a big-bodied, contested catch receiver. He could win a jump ball situation at any point in time, but I just don't see the role being meaningfully different than the guys that are near the stone minimum. And when you have a situation like this, I'd rather just play like Dawson Knox and Matt Collins and then go up and get, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, James Cook, whoever it may be, like get 3 or 4 studs and then just go all the way down rather than play a guy whose role is not meaningfully different than those cheap plays.
So I'll throw this out to you, Matt, and get your thoughts here before we move on. Through the first 4 weeks, the team target share was 19% Shakir, 18% Kincaid, 11% Coleman, 11% Hollins, 10% James Cook, 9% Curtis Samuel, 6% Ty Johnson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 5% Knox, 3% Ray Davis. So that's what you're working with, right? Nobody above, they said before the season started, everyone eats was their slogan. Well, I mean, I guess you could say everyone's got food being thrown at them. Just they're forgetting to open their mouths because there's not exactly much eating going on with these wide receivers most of these weeks. And then even last week in week 5, without Khalil Shakir, Kincaid 20%, Hollins 20%, Coleman 17%, Samuel 14%. And of course, despite these target shares, these guys were wildly ineffective.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is one, I'm not sure if they're being used efficiently, but at the end of the day, when no one's producing, can I really argue with it? I mean, not really. I would love to just see Keon Coleman get more experience, use Kincaid every single play, and then use Shakir every single play when he's healthy, that is. Who the last guy you put in the lineup? I'd flip a coin, I guess. I don't think there's a meaningful difference between any of them at that point. But
does it even matter?
Probably not. And I mean, that's negligence on the Bills' part coming into your season with this.
Like I'm looking at Okay, so I'm filtering by team. Okay. I want to filter by team here and just see what my exposures are. This is with 50 lineups. So flex. Allen, Bills, and James Cook, 66, 44, 36%. Then Matt Collins, 32, Bass, 24, Kincaid, 24, that's Allen at captain. Khalil Shakir, 6% at flex. And this is what you talked about with that price point. Keon Coleman, 6% at flex. So essentially exactly what you were talking about is kind of illustrated right here at what I'm looking at. Now, if I move this to 150 lineups, it would look quite a bit different, but still it is, you're spot on. Like it's the cheap Mac Hollins, it's the cheap Mac Hollins getting the most here because how big really is the difference from him to a $6,800 Keon Coleman?
There's a difference, but I don't think it's meaningful personally.
Right. Oh, there's a difference. All right. But is it a $4,400 difference? In
my opinion, no. And it's also about what you're putting in your lineup alongside them. If you're playing Keon Coleman, it means you're probably playing, I don't know, a kicker or a defense, which there's nothing wrong with them, but the combined projection of those two players is not quite the same as like a Matt Collins and a Breece Hall. And I don't think the ceiling is the same either. But ultimately, like if you're just talking from a football perspective, honestly, I don't really blame what the Bills are doing, playing a lot of Matt Collins and 12 personnel with Knox. I think you can do more creative things with those players because they're willing to block. So I don't think they're really at risk of having their snap shares depleted. You look at Buffalo, they're playing a ton of 12 personnel with Kincaid and Knox. Knox is blocking a fair amount, still at 15 routes in the last game. Hollins, honestly, has probably played, and it's not just blocking for him. He also ran 23 routes, but I think he's the safest among routes outside of Keon Coleman and Shakir, assuming he's healthy. Like I don't think Hollins is coming off the field much. So those are probably the two guys I'd like to play the most down here. Plus, they both are such good blockers for a team that wants to run the ball. They'll be on the field. When you get into situations where you change the play at the line of scrimmage, that's important because these dusty players like MVS who aren't blocking are not in those situations.
The top of my lineups, them looking at it now, Breece Hall, captain. It's a 4-2 Jets with Mike Williams in there. Greg the Legs in there. The top one with Tyler Bass, so 2 kickers. Second lineup, second highest simmed ROI lineup. Breece Hall, Bills, Garrett Wilson, Loughran. Okay. James Cook and Jets. Greg the Leg in the third one too, with Matt Collins, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. So with Josh Allen captain. And of course, guys, we're using the Sims tool. Phenomenal tool, not just for the main slate, but for the showdown. Essentially trying to replicate what the field's going to look like and simming tens of thousands of these contests and giving you the results, the simulated ROI. You can make these adjustments on your own, whether you want to set exposure caps, whether you want to do ROI boost, you can adjust projections. You can even go into quick favorites now and set uniques differently to make sure that you get more diversified across all of your lineups. Really a lot of ways to do this. A lot of type of controls that you have now. And I mentioned it earlier, but that link in the description, if you wanted to try it out, of course you could pay full price, but if you're not on any of those sports books, if there's one of those sports books or pick'em sites that you're not on yet, follow those steps, get the entire month of the Sims Core for $100 for free. Just follow, sign up, deposit, place a bet. Once it settles, send us your screenshots. You got to use those links, of course, on the landing page, but it's right there. It's going to make your life easy, and it's the best promo we've ever done. And you can get multiple months if you sign up on multiple of them and follow the steps. But I think what we're seeing right now, Matt, is my top 4 lineups are 4-2 Jets lineups in the Sims.
That makes a lot of sense because they're more condensed in their opportunity shares. I don't have any problem with that at all. And honestly, I think you can get more to 4-2 Jets because we've been using the Matt Collins, Dawson Knox as the examples of the pivots. There's enough salary where you could bring one of those guys up to Conklin too at 4K. So you can pretty easily play, let's say you go Matt Collins, Conklin. You have enough salary for 4 studs pretty easily. You'll be close to maxing out salary. But I think that helps as well because no longer do you have to gamble always on the Bills pass catchers. Like Conklin is a pretty secure role, so he's definitely going to come up, and that gives you more 4-2 Jet stuff, 5-1 Jet stuff. And it's, in my opinion, literally just an opportunity thing.
You're right. Assuming he plays, and it appears that he's likely to play, I'd say Conklin's actually underpriced on this site.
I agree. And if he doesn't play, Ruckert's going to be even like,
oh yeah,
he's going to be that except like compounded. He'll be super owned.
Yeah. So we'll see. Conklin should play, but we'll have the inactives. Matt and I will be back with you for Live Before Lock. So that's obviously something to pay close attention to. Who would you rather play, $7,200 Alan Lazard or Mike Williams at $5,600? Because Lazard's clearly been better this year.
That's a really hard question at this point in the season for everything you mentioned. Lazard is shockingly involved. I guess Lazard, because you're not in the no man's land, you're going to have the salary to get there. I don't know, man. Like I say that tentatively, knowing what Lazard is capable of versus Mike Williams. But yeah, man, I don't think it's 34 targets versus 14. It's just the difference is too wide for me to play meaningful Mike Williams right now.
Unfortunately, it is. I still have 9% Mike Williams, though, in the flex. So it's not like I'm not getting to any. I have a handful of lineups at captain. So not a lot. I am noticing that I have way more spread out captain lineups than I normally have on a showdown slate.
It's basically just Breece, a little condensed, and then kind of spread everywhere else. Unless it's different on your end. That's what I notice.
No, that's what I have too. It's, well, to be fair, yeah, it's a lot of Breece and a lot of Josh Allen. But then once I get below that, it's just super spread out. There's nobody that's getting all of that exposure. You know, sometimes you have these slates where it's like 5 guys are getting all of the captain exposure. That's not the case here. It's Breece, Allen, and then 12% Garrett Wilson. And then I have like 13 guys in between 2 and 9%.
I think that makes for a fun showdown slate, especially when you can poke holes in really, even the captains, you can poke holes in every single one. This could be a weird game. We didn't talk a lot about defenses or kickers yet, or even some of the cheaper price guys in the slate. The total's 41. I saw some people talking about wind in the comments. I think that's all reflected in the total, but it's on the verge of being concerning. It's like 20 miles an hour consistent with 35-mile-an-hour gusts. I think that hurts the Jets more than the Bills because Allen's propensity to run. But worth mentioning, and why I bring this up, is you could see some weird things in the captain spot when you have a game set up like this. Defenses, not as much kickers, but potentially, or with reduced pass volume, if that's what we get, perhaps a Conklin in the captain could be interesting because you have lower pass volume. He's operating around the line of scrimmage, not as affected by the wind, and the value of his PPR points would become higher in a situation like that. So it is an interesting game environment. I don't hate the off-the-board captains. I think you do see that in the Sims tool.
Looking at the hour by hour.
Even Braylon Allen.
So, yeah, I know.
I got some captain of him. Not a lot, but like he's one of the guys that was in that like spray and pray kind of area.
Yeah. I have 3%.
That's what I got too.
Yeah. I don't actually. So, John Prince, is there a minimum deposit or bet to get the Sims offer? You'll see it on all of those books, right? Like usually there's a minimum deposit on all of them. Like if you're doing Bet365, deposit 10 and bet 5 because you're getting 200 in bonus bets anyway. But just like you see them all there. DraftKings are already on it, but like all of these do what's best for you, you know, especially when you only have to put a little bit in to get those bonus bets released anyway. Like it's going to benefit you regardless, but you'll see what all of them are on there. Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks like the wind's going to die down by around 8 o'clock. It's still going to be windy, Matt, no doubt. Still going to be windy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as bad. But some big gusts. I'll say it, if kickers end up getting completely tamped down and nobody wants to play kickers, I would still be willing to do a little bit of that. But yes, the wind is a little bit concerning given that there could be those big gusts for sure. The defenses, though, I think I'm going to be getting a lot of in this game. I have 9% Bills at captain. I have a lot of them and the Jets at the flex position. I'm actually not going to touch that at all. Maybe it ends up being one of those super weird games where the offenses just both wake up. But I think this sets up very nicely for defenses, neither of whom are all that expensive, especially, and I don't know, maybe you could tell me, why is the Bills defense $1,000 more than the Jets? Can you explain that? Because I don't get it at all.
I can't. And I got more Bills.
Me too.
Which I think, first of all, they're the worst defense. I know they're, you know, you go by Vegas, they're a slight favorite. So that is impactful. Everyone's projections definitely are taking into account Vegas. But, you know, the 1 point spread, does that really make a huge difference? And I guess you'd rather target Aaron Rodgers as a matchup versus Josh Allen, but still, I think the Jets are more talented by a wide margin. And the other thing I think you might get with the Jets is just pure leverage. Josh Allen's going to be really owned. If they put him into some weird sort of game scripts and you have picks, fumbles, strip sacks, that benefits the Jets, I think, more than the Bills. And plus, you have a quarterback, I think, that's going to put it in harm's way more in Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers.
That's a good point.
At a cheaper price.
Against a good secondary.
Really good set. And I think an underrated pass rush. But
yeah, I would say so too. Look, the money line here is on Pinnacle. minus 112 to plus 101. I mean, it's as close to a pick 'em as you get.
It's true.
Any other value we haven't touched on that you want to dig into here?
The Jets have almost no value outside of Braylon, which he's not even like when people say value, I feel like they're looking for he's sub 3K.
Yeah.
Rucker maybe
Gibson's
plays.
Tough to get to.
I can't play Gibson, but I could be maybe talked into Rucker on the basis of Conklin's not 100%. You got 24 snaps out of Rucker in their last game. Mostly blocking, so it's not ideal. But Gibson, he had 2 snaps, so that's definitely not where you want to look. The Bills are tough. You're going to have to watch them pregame for sure, because I just don't know who they're going to keep up active. I think you presumably expect Shakir, assuming he's healthy, Samuel, MVS, Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, that's 5. That means Shavers probably goes back down. because they're going to keep 3 tight ends up. How much do those guys play? I don't know. Maybe, like Ty Johnson is semi-interesting with Cook banged up because they're going to use him at least a little bit. They're already using 3 backs to some degree. But now you have Cook on the injury report. Davis, I imagine, will be more owned than Ty Johnson. So I don't know.
And
these are thoughts.
I don't think he should be.
I don't think he should be either, but it's tough to parse the workload. Ty Johnson is expensive too for his role, which isn't something I like. This is just strictly an ownership discussion.
Yeah.
For price, Ray Davis is much better.
That's actually a good. I didn't see that they're $2,200 apart.
That's the other thing with the slate. Like, what are we doing?
Ty Johnson at 5,200. I really thought they'd be priced around the same. Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge proponent of that.
I guess the bottom line is there aren't a lot of guys in the deep depths.
No. It's funny. Ray Davis last game. How is that? It's so weird. So Ray Davis had 2 targets last game and he played 2 snaps. Ty Johnson played a lot in that game and they were playing from behind. Like if you think this game is close, I think you get more Ray Davis. If you think they're playing from behind again, it has to be Ty Johnson. They like using him. Obviously, James Cook as well, right? But they like Ty Johnson in a pass catching role and a 3rd down role. But with this being a 1.5 point spread, I actually think maybe leaning Ray Davis here and just hoping that it's a competitive game makes the most sense. Plus, the Jets outside of last week have struggled to stop the run.
Yeah, I get maybe MVS to give you another option. I truly don't like the backs at price. MVS, I don't think will be inactive, but how did Tyrell Shavers get so many snaps last week? And it's not a lot, but how did he get 16 snaps?
No idea. No, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. This guy wasn't even active through the first 4 weeks.
He's a practice squad guy.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to him today if Khalil Shakir plays.
He probably won't even be active, but I'm just like, this Bills rotation, man. It's just another baffling thing to me. Like, how in the world did they actually think it was a good idea to give him any snaps?
How in the world did they think it was a good idea to go into the season with this as their pass catching core? I'm serious. Like, this is a team with, aspirations year over year, and they're like, no, it'll work. I don't know.
They put themselves into kind of like a tricky situation with how they've navigated their roster. They're sort of like, they kind of had to put themselves in like a soft rebuild because they have, they have a lot of money sunk into guys like Von Miller who have done nothing for them. So they're in a weird position, but that it's still pretty negligent. There are guys that you could buy low on. I mean, trade a future draft pick for somebody who's maybe been a little bit bad in a situation that's not ideal. There's ways to navigate. There's tons of teams navigate it year over year. The Bills kind of just punted it off. Maybe because they have Josh Allen at quarterback. Yeah, they're like, they
could have traded up for a draft pick too, right? I mean, for an earlier, I don't know. I don't get into all that. I'm not smart enough to understand the inner workings of all of that shit with cap and everything. I also just don't care much about it. But with the Jets side of the football, it's a lot more condensed, as you put it. You talk about a concentrated offense. Last week, Garrett Wilson, 96% of snaps, Lazard, 100. Mike Williams, even a season-high 71, Matt, which means that Xavier Gibson is essentially, if they continue at this rate, Xavier Gibson is basically out of the offense. He's a special teamer. Malachi Corley hasn't played a snap. He's played 2 snaps all season. Nothing since week 2. Irvin Charles, they have nobody. It's Wilson, then Lazard, Mike Williams, and Ty Conklin, who I would put, Ty Conklin might be the second best pass catching option on this team at price, at 4K. So that's what we're working with today. And then Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, both of whom I think are fantastic options.
I agree with you. I have absolutely no qualms whatsoever with anything you just laid out. Just confused like how Allen Lazard is continuing to play. He had 3 drops in their last game.
I know, but Rodgers loves him.
Oh my gosh, it's so tilting, man.
Ready
in one game, 3 drops.
Ready to build a lineup? I know.
Yeah, let's build a lineup. I can't look at these Lazard advanced stats anymore. I'm so frustrated.
I love how you get fired up over some of the smallest stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a small thing that you're dropping that many passes, but it does make me laugh. 3 drops.
Yeah, like the Shaver snaps and Lazard's drops.
Yeah. Also, if you want to get a little bit more fired up before we send our friends off into the day, guess who leads the league in drops this year?
Is it Lazard?
No, he's 15th. It's Darnell Mooney. Yeah, it's Alan Lazard. I'm kidding. Alan Lazard with 6 drops already on the season. More than Amari Cooper, Matt. More than Amari Cooper.
That's that. Amari has that many drops? I guess I haven't been watching a lot of Cleveland games.
He does. He's also made some good plays, but Alan Lazard is 30th in targets and 1st in drops. That's not encouraging, but they're still going to go to him.
Yeah, man. Just put the rookie out there. Who cares?
Rodgers
does, of course. So
yeah, I'd love to see Corley out there. Eventually, Mike Williams is just going to have that game, and we're all going to sit here and go, shit, why wasn't I on it? All right. Let's try Breece Hall at captain out of the gate.
Love Breece Hall. No problem with that. And again, just going into this, as long as you play 1 or 2 value guys, it's pretty easy to get anyone you want.
Yep.
So I am going to throw Josh Allen in there.
Yep. Also, any chance you think we get to 200 likes by the time we're done building this lineup? Takes only a second. We got 700 people. We're 45 likes away. Matt, I think it's feasible.
I atoned
as well, my friend. The first thing I do, and I just feel a heavy weight lifted off of me. All right, so Breece Hall, Josh Allen. Give me Jets defense.
Jets defense, I like it.
By the way, I think I have no problem with Josh Allen and Jets defense in the same lineup. No, Josh Allen has rushing upside, but also makes a lot of mistakes.
We've talked about this a lot. Sometimes the mistakes are actually, you only lose 1 point for it, or 2 if it's a fumble. But
exactly.
Sometimes those put you in game scripts that are actually a little more friendly for fantasy success. So I'm with you on that. This is tough now. I'm going to put Conklin in there as another salary saver and see what we can get left over now.
NY Stiegel, who will have the big game first? Your day one Cortland Sutton or Mike Williams?
Sutton had a touchdown.
I know. Of course, when I wasn't on him, I was early on Chase Brown this year. Early on Cortland Sutton. No, Sutton will have eventually. That was a horrible spot for him yesterday. Like I bet Chargers. I mean, not a horrible spot, but sorry, a horrible spot for the Broncos offense. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We get some right, we get some wrong. The great thing about DFS, though, is when we're talking about these guys, like whether it's Ridley or Sutton, being overweight means you could get like 10% of them, and it doesn't impact your day if you're wrong. But if you're right, it could go a long way. Betting's a different story. I'll tell you that much. Betting's a different story. You know, you lose. But, yeah, Sutton had 4 for 51 in a score. He was fine. Williams eventually will. They have to get him the ball. Who'd you go after the Jets?
Conklin.
Okay. So we got 80. We're in decent shape right now. We have Hall, we have Conklin, we have Jets D, Allen. I'm going to go with, damn, this is tough. I almost want to go with a kicker or a defense here.
I have no problem with that. We're going to have salary left over no matter what.
We are. What if I go Rodgers?
You can play a lot of good lineups with Rodgers still. I like Rodgers. That gives us Kincaid.
Interesting.
Kincaid is my favorite Bills pass catcher in a vacuum.
I just wonder if it's not going to grade out well because we have Rodgers with Hall and Conklin, but no Williams, Lazard, or Garrett Wilson.
Let's see.
Sweet.
Damn.
Not bad.
That's higher than I thought it would have been.
Me too. Let's do one more real quick before we go. I think we try the Josh Allen captain.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
All right. I am going to put Breece Hall in after that. Who do you want now?
Let's go Dawson Knox. Save some salary.
Okay, you're going all the way to the basement here.
He's playing like 50% of the snaps, so I'm okay with it. His snap share is like identical to Keon Coleman.
I know. Also, guys, just remember, like, we're still waiting on news from James Cook, from Khalil Shakir. These are, some pretty significant developments that we'll be dealing with here. So worth paying attention to. I was going to go with Mac Hollins, but we already have our cheap guy in Dawson Knox. So I'll fade that. And I'll go. You know what? I'll go Kincaid here, because I think with the Allen at captain, we're going to want one more of these guys. Even though he can run, give me Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, I like Kincaid. Man, this is interesting now. We have a lot we could possibly do. I'm going to throw Garrett Wilson in. We have a ton of options down here.
Okay. We could go Conklin, but I don't want to do that. I don't want Conklin, Wilson, Hall. I was hoping we'd have enough for Buffalo defense.
If you swap out Garrett Wilson for Aaron Rodgers, you do.
No, but I don't want to have just Rodgers and Breece Hall. What if we go? This is a weird range. Can I swap out Kincaid for anybody decent?
You could go down like Kincaid to Coleman or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to do for us, but we can try it. Then that gets us like, this is a weird build.
It is a little weird.
Mike Williams.
Braylon I like.
What if we go Kincaid and Braylon Allen?
I like Braylon Allen. I actually wanted to test it out and see how he looked.
Oh, wait, how expensive is Allen? I don't think we have.
53.
We don't have it. So we want to go. We can go Coleman and Braylon Allen.
Okay.
300 remaining.
That's pretty good. If the weather is bad, we'll have to monitor this through the day. It makes me like the double RB more. I saw some people talking about that in chat, but I agree with you.
I don't think this one's going to come out well. The defense and kickers and everything have been really,
Yeah, I don't know where I messed up.
It's fine. I ran it. It came out as -23. Hey, Matt, where can they follow you in all of your work before we go?
I'm at Matt_Gajewski, doing a ton of work for Stokastic, Odd Shopper, and in the Tails Marketplace. A lot of college football stuff, ton of college football betting content, videos, doing the projections for players. So that's player props, DFS, everything. You can follow me on Twitter for the easiest place to get access to all those things, or just hit up either site, Odd Shopper or Stokastic, and you'll find me.
Hit me up at Lafayette_D. Check everything else out on the Odd Shopper channel as well. We're firing stuff at you for football and college football every day of the week. So if you're not there yet, come join us. Otherwise, we'll catch you back here tonight. NFL Live before lock, Monday Night Football. Have a great rest of the day, guys. Peace.